Your reaction when the Vikings signed Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray is a dramatic improvement over what we watched in Minnesota last season.
The organization made a decision that they feel is going to improve the depth and the quality of the room.
There's a reason Kyler Murray's there.
Kyler's a playmaker.
His ability to play efficient football.
My confidence is unshakable. You won't see me waver.
Who's going to be that last man standing?
He sits on one side, I sit on the other side, and it's the coach's responsibility to teach us and coach us.
Now that I am here,
all I'm going to do is focus on what I can control.
We love an off-season storyline. Welcome into NFL Live. Molly McGrath here with Kevin Clark in studio. Mina Kimes, Bill Barnwell also joining us. And as you saw, the open competition at quarterback in Minnesota continues. And you know what they say, if you have two quarterbacks, then that means you have none. Last season, J.J. McCarthy's performance was marked by inconsistency, so Minnesota overhauled the position, adding veteran Kyler Murray to the mix, among others. And Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell hoping this open competition makes their QB1 clear. O'Connell went on the Dan Patrick Show and talked about their quarterback situation.
Kyler has come in and done a great job. JJ, I think, has benefited from it. He had a really good spring. Carson Wentz is this veteran quarterback in the room that, as a guy who's played 7 or 8 quarterbacks in 4 years, the 2 years we had our starter, play the whole season, we won 13 and 14 games. So we want to try to get back to the standard of having the quarterback position be a driving force behind us winning by doing their job, by hopefully activating the great players they get to play with.
So it's been an every other year thing at quarterback for Kevin O'Connell since becoming the Vikings head coach. Minnesota had just one starting QB in 2022 and 24. Cousins and Darnold won 13 and 14 games, but things unraveled a bit between that. 3 different starters last year went a combined 9 and 8. That's just not going to cut it. So, Mina, which quarterback do you believe has a better chance of meeting the expectations O'Connell has for the position?
Yeah, if anyone was paying attention to the sounds we were playing at the beginning of the show, you might have heard me say dramatic improvement Kyler Murray over J.J. McCarthy. So I kind of gave that one away, Molly. But, for me, it's not just about the quarterback. It's about the entire team. Justin Jefferson should never have a season like the one we saw last year. He is one of the, if not the best receivers in football, and he was really limited by quarterback play. To put it in perspective, throwing to Justin Jefferson, J.J. McCarthy had an off-target rate of 28%. That is about twice what Sam Darnold's off-target rate was throwing to Jefferson, and the same with Kirk Cousins. It was mostly not his fault, and frankly, you could see him get frustrated as the season went on. So if Kyler Murray brings even average quarterback play, which I think he is capable of, whether or not that ceiling looks more like it did in 2020, has to do with a variety of factors, including his default coming back. To me, that's a massive upgrade, and it's so important for this group of talented wide receivers to play with a competent quarterback.
Molly, you said if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. If you have J.J. McCarthy, you also have no quarterbacks, because last year there was just an inability for him to hit the layups that Kevin O'Connell schemes. And there's very few people who create more layups than Kevin O'Connell. Last year, J.J. McCarthy held the ball almost historically long. No player on record has taken longer than 2.5 seconds more often to throw than J.J. McCarthy last year. Kyler Murray will not do that. In fact, last year was the quickest release of his career. He's getting better at the short stuff, getting better at the quick stuff. So that's all he needs to do in this offense. I just think you pair that with a defense that was still 7th in the NFL last year. Pair that with Justin Jefferson and a skill group that is going to be there just like it was 2 years ago. I just feel like this can be a real deal NFC contender, and I feel like we kind of glossed over what average quarterback play can look like in this offense. Mina mentioned it. If Kyler Murray's average, and I think he'll be above average, and can use his legs to expand this scheme, really good things are going to happen, and that division got even tougher this year.
We need to temper our enthusiasm just a tiny bit with KOC saying, basically, if I have competent quarterback play, we're going to win 13 or 14 games. Something else happened those years. They were incredibly effective in one-score games. They were 20-2 in games decided by 8 points or less in those 2 seasons. In KOC's other 2 seasons, they were 11-12. And yes, of course, having a good quarterback can help you win some of those close games or avoid them altogether by winning in a dominant fashion. But show me Tom Brady, show me Patrick Mahomes, any quarterback in the history of football, you're not winning 20 out of your 22 one-score games consistently. So I understand last year we came into the year basically thinking you could put me in a quarterback and win 11, 12 games in this offense. It is going to take something more, and they are going to have to be more consistent in avoiding those one-score games. You can't count on winning so many of them, even if you have decent quarterback play.
Yeah, it seems like it's Kyler Murray's job to lose, but to your point, Bill, Kyler Murray not fared well in one-score games, 19, 28, and 1 in his 7-year career. So something's got to change there. Now there are no questions at quarterback in Baltimore, but the Ravens will showcase a new-look offense under an all-new coaching staff. First-year OC Declan Doyle will try to get the best out of his veteran Lamar Jackson, and his teammate safety Kyle Hamilton joined the show yesterday and complimented Jackson's off-season work ethic.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing about Lamar, one of the best things about Lamar, is he's going to act the same in March and April as he will in January, February. And, he does a great job of kind of separating, the fun from the work. And, he keeps it as light as possible. But at the same time, he does a great job just blocking back in and making sure everybody else is blocked in. He preaches that to us.
So we know Lamar's a constant in Baltimore, but elsewhere the Ravens made significant changes this offseason, including a revamp of the offensive line. The big addition came on defense, though, in Trey Hendrickson and the return of veteran Calais Campbell. So, Kevin, how do you think this pairing of Lamar Jackson and his new offensive coordinator will go?
I love it. And Bill, you mentioned that people thought that you could play quarterback for the Vikings last year. No one thinks that about the Ravens. Bill Barnwell will be a bad quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, and the reason is because this offense needs Lamar to go. Last year, you saw, if you look at his tracking numbers that the NFL puts out, he wasn't doing not nearly as many design runs after his injury last year, and he was moving more slowly last year. So there's a couple of things to worry about, but I think the Declan Doyle offense is going to go with explosive plays, explosive schemes, spread the defense out more, give Lamar a little more room to cook 3-4 wide receivers. I'm intrigued to see it. I think this works. I think that Mike McDonald in Seattle is a really good guidepost for some of these franchises that tried to get a fresh voice in the room, right? You fire Pete Carroll, you bring in Mike McDonald. In Baltimore, you fire John Harbaugh, you bring in Jesse Minter. In Buffalo, you fire Sean McDermott, a very successful coach, and you bring in Joe Brady. So I think that there's a proof of concept here in year one. Hit the ground running. I think they do, and this offense looks great.
Lamar Jackson's body of work alone, I think, can give us optimism for him bouncing back, because last year was a down season by his standards. And it was a weird one, right? Because some of the ways in which he struggled were things that he has not struggled at over the course of his career, specifically the number of sacks he took. I always look at quarterbacks' pressure to sack rate, which is how often are they getting sacked when they're pressured. And Lamar Jackson was 31st in the NFL amongst quarterbacks last season. Now, that is not normal for him. He was 4th in that metric last year. Prior to that, in his career, he ranked 11th. So I think, going forward, he's obviously got to cut down on the sacks, but I also think it's more likely than not that had a lot to do with his injuries, and also explains perhaps why he was rushing less. So if he can eliminate those negative plays and either escape more easily or recognize maybe that he's not as stable as he used to be, that to me alone will go a long way towards getting this offense back on track.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy and elevate his play, Lamar obviously a very important part of the success for the Ravens every single year. But Bill, give us another player that you think will have a major impact on how well they play this year.
Someone who does not get enough attention is Nnamdi Madubuike, the excellent defensive tackle who they really missed last season when he went down with a neck injury. And the numbers with him on and off the field are stark. Over the last 3 seasons, they are 3rd in the NFL in pressure rate with Madubuike on the field. They are 31st without their star defensive tackle on the field. Jesse Minter had a lot of pieces in Los Angeles, but the one thing he didn't have was that penetrating, technique defensive tackle, the guy who can really blow up plays before they even start by winning immediately. If the Ravens have that player, one of the pieces they've added on the edge, notably Trey Hendrickson, that is a fundamentally different defense, and it opens up so much of what you can do elsewhere in coverage, whether you want to blitz less, whether you want to put Kyle Hamilton deeper. Lots of things you can do if you can limit your front four. So Madubuike's presence coming off of a neck injury is essential for this Ravens team to be more consistent on the defensive side of the football.
Bill, it's wild. Madubuike underwent neck surgery just this past April, and he's expected to return for the 2026 season. He played a career-low 2 games last year. They're definitely better with him on the field. Now new on NFL Live from Adam Schefter, former Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold took a physical in Houston on Thursday for the Texans and is scheduled to visit 2 more teams next week, per sources. Arnold was released by Detroit last week after he was arrested on felony charges of armed robbery and kidnapping. He's currently out on a $1 million bond and is subject to home confinement with the exception of work and legal appointments. Arnold putting in some work here during the offseason. Take a break, Bill. He wrote an article ranking the skill groups, that's wideouts, tight ends, and running backs of all of the 32 teams, and here's his top 5. And remember, this is based on each team having the same average quarterback. The Lions top Bill's list behind all-pro wideout Amon-Ra St. Brown, followed by Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, and the Rams. The Bengals, Falcons, and 49ers round out the top 5. So Bill, there's so many talented teams in your top 5. Why did the Lions grab the top spot?
Just that combo of great depth and then high-end talent. Of course, running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, you're not going to get many arguments. If not the best back in football, probably top 2, top 3. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 3rd in receiving yards in the NFL over the last 3 seasons. A legitimate number 1 wide receiver, so tough, so physical. Jameson Williams might be one of the 2 or 3 best number 2 receivers in all of football. Might be a number 1 for a fair amount of teams, given his speed and ability to create after the catch. And then Sam Laporta has had some injury issues, but really efficient, has been a threat in the red zone. A mismatch if you get him against the linebacker. Even their number 5 guy, Isaac Tesla, who didn't play a ton last year. Felt like every time we saw him play, he was making a leaping catch for a touchdown in the end zone. So just think the upside here, the floor is high, the ceiling is high. Just a really fun group of players for Jared Goff to throw to.
Yeah, I considered making a case for the Rams, and I think they're close, but ultimately I found myself agreeing with Bill. I have the Lions at number 1, too, for all the reasons you outlined. And I would add, I think just looking at the skill players, the interchangeability of them, the fact that they can use so many of them to do different things and sometimes take on the same roles. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, has proven himself to be quite good at running between the tackles, maybe more so than people expected, but he's also an exceptional receiver. He's so good with the ball in his hands in space. Dan LaPorte is a tight end, but he can run option routes to the best of them. He can win downfield. He's got great hands. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown is a receiver, but he blocks like a dang tight end, right? So you have them on the field at the same time. You can just do so many different things with these players. And then to top it all off, Bill mentioned this too, they have some really good depth too.
I'm going to disagree with Bill because I like arguing with Bill Barnwell. I've got the Rams as number 1, and I might have the Bengals as number 2. I want to live with the Rams here for a second. I think Puka Nacua is an unbelievable nightmare for defenses. I talk to a lot of coaches around the league for my show, and I ask them what offense keeps them up at night, and almost all of them say the Rams offense. Now, part of that is Matthew Stafford. In this exercise, we're just supposed to have a neutral average quarterback, but part of it is also Puka Nacua. It's Devontae Adams, especially in the red zone, who can still get you a bucket even at his advanced age. Just the way they deploy heavy and throw out of it. And that is the league now, is to show you a bunch of big guys and then stretch the field vertically. That's what Sean McVay is able to do with this skill group. So I really like them. I think they're the best in the league. And then the Bengals team, obviously, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, again, don't have a neutral average quarterback. We don't know what that looks like necessarily every single year, but obviously they've got depth there, and I think a lot of teams would love to have that skill group, guys.
No question they would love to have those guys, but the person you mentioned with the Rams matters here. And that's Sean McVay, who does such a good job of getting those guys into places. With the Lions last year, Ben Johnson was not there. It was not the Ben Johnson show. There was multiple offensive play callers calling things for the Lions last year. So I think seeing those guys excel independent of, for me, one of the 3 or 4 best offensive play callers in football went a long way in deciding that the Lions were number 1 as opposed to the Rams or Bengals, who, of course, 2 or 3 perfectly viable candidates for the top spot as well.
Hey, Phil, we did see Jake Browning with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and we do know what that looks like. No disrespect to Jake Browning if you're watching this on a holiday weekend, Friday, buddy. But no, I just think that we've seen those guys, that offense, Mike Gesicki, we've seen with average quarterbacks. So